We were just talking with Michael Phillips about the idea of like, oh, it's so easy. Just fire Rivera, hire Bieniemy. And it goes from there. And, you know, on paper, sure, it's that simple. He's the assistant head coach. You elevate him and you go from there. The reality is, though, if I am Eric Bieniemy, I do not want that to happen. It is very rare that interim coaches get hired full-time. It's not impossible, but it is rare. I mean, we saw it last year. Steve Wilkes did a great job in Carolina, and he had been a guy that should have been a candidate to replace Ron Rivera when Ron left, or even, frankly, before Ron left. There was an ownership change. That sounds familiar. And he didn't get the job. Instead, it went to Frank Reich, who's a fantastic coach, but like Steve Wilkes, there was no reason not to hire the guy. On top of that, there is a long time for it to go wrong. And as Michael correctly pointed out, you can't be like, hey, the defense is the problem. Let's fire the defensive coordinator and the head coach. Hey, offensive coordinator, who, by the way, has his hands full with a basically rookie quarterback and an offense that you're installing still because it's your first year, and a quarterback coach who is new to the NFL and doing a very good job, it seems, but is not ready potentially to be an OC, and let's just shift all the responsibilities around. And that's not setting people up to succeed, which is ultimately Josh Harris's job. A general manager and others would have insight there as well and impact. But like if Ron's gone, like at that point, Mayhew and Marty and all them are lame ducks. And I could even see a world, frankly, where they fire some of those guys first and start that search a little bit faster than a coaching search, in part so that the new GM can come in at the end of the season and get their head coach search started immediately. But realistically, if I'm EB, I don't want this job right now. I want my current job right now, and I want to get really, really good at it, and I want to continue to put equity in the bank, if you will. I would like to keep making deposits on, hey, I can do this. I am a great offensive coordinator without Andy Reid. I'm making Sam Howell into a young star. We can fix some of these sack problems. Like, I want to see him continue to progress in the role that he has, and if I'm him, I want to keep doing that. And then I want Ron to get fired in the bye week, and then I'll take over. And I don't mean to be so flippant about it, but realistically, with like 4 or 5 weeks left in the season, because they have this very silly late bye, that is when I would consider making the move, because you just have more time to reorganize things. The NFL during the season, when you get on the week-to-week, which is what they are between now and Thanksgiving, it is Sunday, 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 Sunday. And it's mostly Sunday, 1 o'clock, Sunday, 1 o'clock, Sunday, 1 o'clock. In fact, they don't have outside of Thanksgiving, the only non-1 o'clock games that I put in quotation marks or air quotes are actually 1 o'clock on the West Coast, or the 125. They're in the 405, 425 kick, but they're in Seattle and in LA. So realistically, they are now in this routine for the rest of the year outside of Thanksgiving and the bye week. And so if you want to make, let's say they get crushed on Thanksgiving and it's really embarrassing and they're knocked out of the playoffs, I could say then you have like 10 days until the next game, and then I think you have a bye after that. Fine. Cool with that. Realistically, though, during that bye week, with then a short runway for EB, the head coach, to, like, if it doesn't turn around, nobody's really putting that on you. If you go win a couple games, it's like, wow, look at him. At that point, if you want to make that move, that's kind of ideal for the organization. The only other way I would really make the move before then is if you feel like you've totally lost the team, it's affecting the mood of the fan base. And this is something that I want to talk about as the week goes on, because I think it's interesting, some of the short-term, long-term emotional investment strategies that Josh Harris is probably managing here. But realistically, unless it gets really toxic, really sideways, really bad, or you feel like the team has quit, I don't think you make this move for a while. Again, that's the rational thing. I also get it. I don't think Ron Rivera is the guy long-term. And as I said on Friday's show, there is that great quote that I first heard from Michael Winger, which is sometimes change for the sake of change accelerates progress. And I'd be real tempted on that. But I'm also, if I'm Josh Harris, I have to think of the people that I'd be responsible for, the Bienemys, the Tavita Pritchards, the whoever else would have to take on the responsibilities. Those aren't vacuums that don't have to be filled. And I'd also be thinking about, like, okay, I know Ron's not the long-term guy, but he's a pro, shows up every day and does the job, and I want to observe what I think of the things he's doing works and doesn't, and this is a free observation learning year for me. What can I then do with that information long-term? Change for the sake of change can accelerate progress, but it can also be a disruptor in a way that is actually not beneficial to the long-term health and stability of a thing that you're caring for. It is a delicate balance, and it's really easy to be mad and want to fire everybody because it is clear that these people are part of the problem. But until you are ready to implement a solution, are you actually making the problem worse by creating a vacuum? And that would be my concern if I'm Josh Harris, and would also, to an extent, be my concern if I'm Ron Rivera looking at keeping Jack Del Rio or not. It couldn't be worse. Like, let's not tempt things. But it does feel like, at least on the defensive side of the ball so far through the year, the only way it could be worse is if you're the Broncos. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And when we get back, we will go around the NFL, check in on the rest of the league over the weekend.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.